Welcome to the Bleep Bulimia podcast with guest Anna, spiritual coach with a focus on helping people with eating disorders.
Hi everyone, I'm Lorianne. I am the host of Bleep Bulimia, and today I have Anna back with us. Thank you so much for being here. Anna is going to speak this time because she is actually a spiritual coach and she focuses on people who are struggling with eating disorders. And so this is what we're going to focus on this one. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laurie, for having me. I'm very happy. And as you said, as a spiritual coach, what I like to do, I said, yes, like a lot of people ask me, like, what do you do? And I'm like, yes, I have a business, but for me, it's my mission, is really how I like to call it. This is my mission. My mission is sharing about something that I struggled for a lot of years and how I got out and what had helped me out to get out of it. So how I can be a tool for other people to do it also. That's what for me is this journey about, right? So for me, I call it more as my mission, right? Because we're here to serve. We're here to help each other.
Absolutely. And this is what this podcast is about. It's my mission. I mean, it's something that I do from my heart because I know that there's a lot of people still out there struggling with eating disorders, whether it is bulimia, anorexia, or overeating, or whatever it is. I know this one is set specifically named Bleep Bulimia because that's what I struggled with for 30 years. And what this podcast obviously is doing is allowing people like you and other people to be able to share options of how people can overcome it. And everyone's different. So the more people I have on here who could share different ways, at some point, one of those people who's struggling will say, that I get, that's what I want, right? So thank you again for being here. So we're gonna start with, with this spiritual coaching, I'm interested. What does that entail?
Yeah. So what this entail is the ways that I work is with in a holistic way, right? So I work with Reiki, I work with Akashic records, I work with card reading, and angels healing. So what is that? These are therapy, like these are sessions or kind of therapy that I do that when I learn it, it was for me to help me heal. So yes, we can heal with medicine, right? These days, there's a lot of medicine that is out and you can use it. And at the same token, there is a lot of things that when we connect with our soul, with our heart, there's a lot of gifts there that can help us out to that healing. But in my opinion, when you go to school, nobody teach you about those things. Even these days, the schools, most of the schools don't have not even a religion class, right? I remember I went I went in to school in Colombia, and I think when I was in middle school, until middle school, I think we had the religion class, but in high school that disappears. That doesn't come anymore. And I think these days the schools doesn't have religious anymore.
Yeah.
So there is nothing that in when I say nothing is there is no school or unless your parents are people that are very spiritual and guide you with tools that are like holistic, right? There are things that we don't see. The medicine, we see it. Oh yeah, this is the pill that you have to drink, like take it every single day at this time, blah, 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 blah. But what about meditating? What about the like energy? See, because that is Reiki. Reiki, it's energy. And it's not just Reiki. We all are energy. We are constantly generating that energy. So I learned through the therapy, the like what I do right now, I did it to heal myself, to help my journey. And it worked very well. Like, and even till today, it works every week. I do things for myself because the first client, it's myself. That's what it is for me. So that's what is, that's the reason why I'm a spiritual coach, because it's holistic. It's not like, oh yeah, this is here's the formula and you do it and everything will be fine. It's more like, if have faith that you can connect with your heart, I will help you out with the tools that I learn how to do it. And the more that you practice, the more they're gonna do it faster. There's a point that you're not gonna need me because you can do it by yourself. So that's what it is, being a
That's
spiritual coach.
great. Let the child grow their wings and fly away, right? Interesting fact, it must be the day of the heart, because the podcast I just did previous to you spoke to the heart. He said, you know, everything is about, we talk a lot about mindset, we talk a lot about meditation, we talk a lot about, you know, the mind. But he says something really interesting, that the mind wants to take over everything, and we don't focus on the heart. And there's a lot that's held in our heart.
Yeah.
And the brain suppresses it in the heart. And I thought that that's really neat. So when you're saying working with the heart, because yeah, a lot of us, you know, we're going to therapists, we're going to psychiatrists, we're going, and that's all mind. And the programs they give you is all about the mind. And even meditating is a hard thing sometimes, because your mind wants to take over and your thoughts take over. And it's not the heart, it's this, the head, right? You need to contact your heart. So this is really beautiful. It blends in beautifully with, I guess, my week. The theme is the heart, right? And that's wonderful. Tell us a little bit about you. I know that you spoke about yourself in our previous podcast, but for people who are listening for the first time on this one, and just tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I started struggling with eating disorders when I was 13 years old. And the reason why I started struggling is, well, or what I remember, I remember that most of my friends, when I got into being a teenager in those 13 years, the girls that were popular, like wear like high shirts, right? That they can,
Crop
your
tops.
belly button, your belly button is showing and all that. And I didn't feel confident enough to wear something like that, because I was like, no, like my stomach is not flat like theirs, like they're very skinny and tiny and I'm not. So I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel comfortable. I feel like ashamed of it. So in those moments, I'm like, well, I need to go to a gym. I need to start diet. So I start learning what is a diet. Oh, okay. If I do a diet, you lose weight. And then going to a gym when I was 13 years old. Mom, can I go to a gym? And my mom is like, I don't think you're ready for a gym. And I'm like, no, like I look for a gym that they have teenagers there. So I make the coach talk with my mom so my mom can let me go. Because for
Wow.
her, yeah. So it was it was a lot of pressure, I think, from society that I put on myself. Nobody came to me and say, hey, you have to lose weight or you look ugly or nothing like that. It was more that I saw that the friends or the people that I was around, the girls that were skinnier get more attention than myself. And I grew up in Colombia, which beauty and how you look, it's very important. It's very, like, a lot of people look for that first, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it started. So when I was 13 years old is when it started, and I started going into these diets and going to the gym. And if you sweat, you lose all the pounds, which is not true, of course. But in that moment, for me, it was true. I have to sweat. And if I stay here 2-3 hours, it's better. So going into all these unhealthy ways to lose weight and to take care of my body.
Yeah.
I think around 14 is when I started. I don't remember, because this is a question that people have done, like, why bulimia? Why did you start throwing up, right? I don't remember seeing any program or anything. I do remember one day a conversation in my family. They said that one of my cousins had bulimia, and I asked what it was. But then I saw that she lost a lot of weight. Like what I just saw was that she lost a lot of weight.
So
Yes,
you connected bulimia
I
with weight
connected.
loss.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember. And around when I was 14 is when I started eating and throwing up, eating and throwing up. And I had those moments where if I wanted to lose a lot of weight is when the bulimia went very crazy. When I was doing it constantly in every single meal. But then I lost the weight, and then I am okay, right? I was okay. And then when I gained it again, I didn't use, like, it was because I stopped doing bulimia and I stopped going to the gym as like disciplined as I was, or I was eating whatever I want, overeating, which I create that. So I create the starving, right? Like, okay, eat all what you want, throw up, lose the weight, right? And then when I lost the weight, then it's like, oh, okay, I lose good. And then start overeating, and then again, going up.
I
And
did
this
the
was,
same thing. I did the exact same thing. I got there and I'm going, great, lost the weight. Now I can eat. Went out, had some pizza and stuff, and then it was because there's no routine. You go from like instead of getting a proper diet, and I'm not talking a diet, I'm talking about when I say diet, which is misused because that's what you eat. That's actually the proper definition of a diet is what is your diet? Oh, well, I eat fruit, vegetables, meat, whatever. That's my diet. The society took diet and turned it into a bad word, which means, oh, that means that you're going to try and lose weight. No, I have a diet that I eat. It's not one I'm trying to lose it. But our diet went from the bulimia to, hey, I'm okay. I can eat what I want.
yes,
Doesn't work that way.
yeah, it
That's
is.
funny.
And it
I mean,
is
it's not funny, but it's funny that I did the exact same thing as you. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
is a pattern that I don't know, but it's just and so the pattern start working out because you're like, oh, I can lose the weight whenever I want, like, oh, I can lose the weight. I can dress if I have a party, I can dress this dress that I wanted, but I know that I will start this, I lose the weight, and then I look beautiful for the party, or I look beautiful for the birthday, whatever, like, right? And then you're like, now in the birthday party that you got invited, you're wearing something that you wanted to wear, you start eating like a pig.
Yeah.
Like
Sorry, I'm not laughing because it's funny, but I'm laughing because I've been there. Like I'm
it
going, my
is
God,
like
I can't
that.
believe that you're sharing things that I went through. Yeah.
It was like that. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
like I have never seen food before, so eat it all because you never know when you're
That's,
gonna see it again. It was like it felt like that, and my mind processed it like that,
yeah.
right? And I had that pattern. So I created that pattern. It worked so many times. I created and I kept running it until I was 30 years old.
Wow.
Like it was almost 17 years of having an eating disorder. And the eating disorder, as you said, it was not just the bulimia. Because when I stopped it, it became overeating,
Yeah.
binge eating, right? So it's a cycle of different ones, but everything related with food, right?
Yeah.
Um, so when I was 30 years old, like I think when I was 29 years old, I went to a seminar, and in the seminar, we did a meditation. And in the meditation, uh, one of the parts of the meditations is I saw myself around 40 years old in a hospital room in the bed I couldn't talk. So I have like something in my mouth that I couldn't talk. And my family was around. Um, and I was there because I had something in my stomach. And when I came back from the meditation, I realized that it was related with the eating disorder that I was having for so many years. right? And that was like my breakthrough. That was like my wake up, Anna. So I was 29 years old, and I was like, the the funny thing is the pain that I saw in my family was what I couldn't handle anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was like, they didn't know why I was in the hospital with that diagnosis, because my parents didn't know that I was bulimic, as
Yeah,
we
we're
talked
really good
before.
at hiding it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's very
Best
easy to
liars.
it's very easy to hide. You eat, everybody's around you, you're like, yeah, food is great, and you eat normal because nothing comes out, and you're like, you finish your whole plate, no? Because yeah, you finish your whole plate, and then a few minutes later, sometimes half an hour later, you go to a bathroom, you throw up, and you're good. Nobody knows. But she went to the bathroom maybe to pee, right?
Yeah.
So it's quiet. Nobody has to know. Um, so that pain was my breakthrough. I'm like, I'm not gonna put my family through this. In that moment, I will have kids, and I'm not gonna put my kids or my husband through this, because they will not know what is going on. And if I am in a hospital, they're gonna be suffering because of me. They're gonna be in pain because of me. And that was my point of like, I need to overcome this. I need to get out of this. This is not going to be in my life anymore. And it took me, I will say, solid 9 months to overcome it. And that was the journey for 2019. That's what I did in 2019. But I start asking. So here is where it comes with the energy. I start asking the universe, God, I need help. I want to stop this. So my main thing was, I want to stop throwing up. I need to stop throwing up. And I started doing that. And then I think it was in April of 2019, when one of my cousins called me. She lives in Sweden, but from nowhere she called me. We had a good conversation. Then she called me the next week. We usually don't talk that much, but she just wanted to talk to me, and I was like, okay, let's talk. The second time that she called me, I was in the gym, and she was like, how are you doing? I'm like, no, in the gym, just doing some cardio here. It's like, oh, great. And it's like, yeah. And she asked me, how many hours are you doing? Are you working out these days? And I'm like, 2 to 3. Oh, really? Yes. And she's like, oh, great. And then she did ask me, she said, Anna, I noticed that you like constantly like the gym and do your diets and these things. I have a question for you. Do you have any eating disorders? And in that moment, I didn't know what she was, to be super honest, I didn't know what she was referring to. And I was like, what? Eating disorders? What do you mean? And she's like, yeah, like anorexia or bulimia. When she said bulimia, I knew what was bulimia. And I said, no, 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 why? And she's like, oh no, I I just see things that you do that I also do. And I'm struggling with bulimia. So I stayed quiet. I didn't know what to say, but I was not able in that moment to accept and tell her, yes, me too. I was very afraid to share it. So that was it. And maybe a month later, we talked like 2 more times. And then after a month, in one of our conversations, I was like, hey, how you doing? I call her and I'm like, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And I said, you know what? I need to tell you something. I am bulimic too. And I think that's the first time that I said to somebody that I was bulimic. And it was very, like, having the courage in that moment to say I'm bulimic to somebody else when I haven't been exposed. It was, I I guess I get sentimental because that's when really start my healing process. When I
Yeah.
really said, okay, I'm gonna get out of this. And she started telling me what she was doing to overcome it because she was in the same path. She wanted to overcome it. So she shared with me that she was going to OA, Overeater Anonymous. I didn't know that that exists. I have heard by the time about AA, but I didn't know that OA exists. And she explained it to me and she said, hey, they're all around the world. In the time I live in New York, so it's like in New York, there has to be a lot of them. So go ahead. And I was like, okay. And it took me, so that was like in May. And it took me like 3 to 4 months to say, okay, I'm gonna go to this thing. So I was like, wait, like, am I gonna be able to go? And also, like, what is this? Like, am I gonna like? By that time, I didn't know. I thought that I was on my own. When my cousin shared that she was bulimic, I was like, okay, there's another human being that have this. But before that, I thought I was on my own. I thought that I was the only one with that problem. I thought that, right? I thought that it was like it's just me. Like nobody has this problem. Um, so I was very afraid to come out and to share or to have to like talk about more. I was like, what? Um, and finally in August, I started the same year. I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it. And in those 4 months, to give you a little bit more of the story, I tried to do it myself. When I said it's like try to like, okay, Anna, today's a new day. We're gonna be good. Blah 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 blah. And then all day good. And then at night I binge it, binge eating, and then I threw up. And I remember in the mirror of my bathroom crying and talking to myself and saying, why? Why do you do it again? Like, Anna, we said this is not happening. And it was like this confrontation with
With
my
yourself.
mind and my stomach. And it was painful because
Mhm.
inside of me, I didn't want to do it. Like my mind, I didn't want to do it. But of course, there was a conflict because there was the pattern was stronger than what my mind wanted in that moment, right? I went to OA and in 1 week I went to like 4 or 5 meetings and that's in back in August, September. And by November of that year, I went to a seminar, which I remember offering one of the um, fear activities that you do, like overcome fear, to the eating disorder. And I realized that it has been like 2.5 months that I haven't thrown up at all. And I was like, wow, I haven't done it anymore. And I realized that I overcome it. I was like, wow, I haven't done it anymore. I have even like sometimes binge eating, but I didn't went to the bathroom and threw up anymore. So in that moment is when I was like, wow, I can do this. I was able to do this. And in that seminar, I promised myself that I will help as many people as possible to overcome it. Because the same way that I felt, I think in that year I learned also a lot about eating disorders, the psychology behind what are like I start studying a lot, so that helped out my process. The same year is when I learned Reiki because I want to heal my stomach with what happened in the meditation. I was like, okay, I need to heal my stomach, and then I learned about Reiki, which is energy healing. And I'm like, oh, so I can heal with my own self. And I learned Reiki and I started doing Reiki to myself, to my stomach, to my digestive system. Because I said, I'm not gonna be in a hospital when I'm 40 years old for bulimia. So I need to help my body. And then, yeah, so I promise in that moment, and remembering that seminar, I promised to myself that I will help as many people as possible. And that's the reason it is a mission for me. Like in the books, the psychology, the spirituality helped me, right? Because when I tune in into my, going back to the heart, when I tune in with my heart, when I am present, is when I feel like, the feeling is, I cannot describe it. It's just so big and beautiful and nice and joyful. And it is not about what I eat. It is not about how I look. It is not about the problems that are in my life. So I start using all the spiritual tools that I learned to heal not just the eating disorders, but maybe other stuff that I have in my life, right? And with that came also healing a relationship with my mom. Because by that time, I was not open with my mom. And I start being open with my mom. And yeah, I remember that also helped me out with healing that relationship and being open and trust my mom. And I told her about it after. I'm like, hey, mom, I went through this and this and this. And my mom was like, what? But it helped me out, not just with the eating disorder. It was with myself too.
I think that in a sense, they're kind of related, because when you find, and you're making me cry and when I'm thinking, because it's very emotional too for me, when you find that inner peace. You see, I think bulimia is associated with a conflict within yourself, within your heart, within your mind. Uh, and part of that feeling like you have to look a certain way. Society is one of it, but part of it is us, like how we're responding to society, like how we sit there, what, like, why are we not feeling? So are we, like, were we brought up that we needed to be a certain way and a perfectionist, or was that just in us as our makeup? Like, maybe it's not our parents that made us feel that way, or maybe it is, I don't know. But how we responded to that was that we had to be perfect, we had to be a perfectionist, we had to do well in school, we had to look right, we had to fit into every crowd. And so I think that bulimia is a consequence of our inner turmoil. And it's not perceived as that at first. At first, it's perceived as a diet gone wrong. But it's caused by the fact that we didn't feel good to begin with, right? So it's a consequence of our lack of inner peace, of loving ourselves, which is what you're saying, Sue. And the more that you learn to love yourself, you don't even think about it, and your relationship with food becomes nice, and the binging doesn't even become an issue. Like, I haven't binged in years, and I don't think I could. That discomfort, I don't like the discomfort, like, it's because I like peace, I like comfort, I like it that way. And we were joking about the fact that, there's this really cute guy, 35 years old, I'm 61, and somebody said age is just a number. I go, no, go out for dinner and they'll ask, what does your mom want, right? But there's the other thing too, where you were saying you're comfortable in yourself, and me too, like, I'm aging, yeah, I've got wrinkles. I don't feel 61, I still feel 25, but when I look in the mirror, I know I'm 61. But yeah, how I look is not, obviously I want to stay healthy size and stuff like that. I'm not going to be wrong about that. I like the fact I can run up and down the stairs. I'm very blessed by that at this age, being able to do that. But if somebody looks at me and says, hey, ma'am, when I was in my 50s, I might have been insulted by that. No, not ma'am. I'm 61. And like we said, be grateful. Here you are. You learned, you saw that yourself at 40. I didn't have one of those visions, but I just realized when my sister told me she loved me, and she heard, because I was living with her because I'd lost everything, my business, my divorce and everything. And she says, I heard you, and I know you're still bulimic. I just want you to know I love you and I'm here for you. And at that moment I thought, yeah, she loves me. My parents love me. My kids love me. I don't have my ex-husband who I felt didn't love me anymore. He's not in my life anymore. So I'm free. So what am I doing? And there was a release. It's what you're talking about, the release of the heart, of the pain.
The pain.
So what you're doing is great, and it's absolutely right. What you're saying is right. And it is a sad story. I know we're laughing when we're saying, you know, you get all skinny and then you get dressed, and then I'm laughing because, oh my gosh, like somebody knows what I went through, you know. But if you sat in a room with a bunch of bulimics and we told our stories, a lot of us would be sitting there going, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. And I'd hope to say that eventually they're all saying, I did that, not that I do that. Because this is what, like you, your mission, my mission is to have people like you speak to my audience so that you know we can recover. You can get to the point where you're at peace with yourself, that food is your friend, not your enemy. And bulimia was your enemy, not your food. You think she's a friend, but she ain't. So I got rid of my toxic friend, is what I usually say when I thought bulimia was my friend. She was toxic, and so I got rid of her, and ever since then, it's been a good life. So there you go. But right, so toxicity is not good, and I'm sure that some of that, right, your releases, there were moments of even the friends around you. You have to watch who you have around you, you know. Be kind to yourself, but also make sure that people around you are kind to you too.
Right. Right.
So with your spiritual coaching, do you have somewhere that our listeners can find you? Sorry, I kind of went in there and told my story, but it's just like you really
Yeah.
like the emotions are really high. I think yeah, really. Yeah, is there somewhere people can find you?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, because that's where it is for me. Like I will say, that's one of the main things that I said. I'm a spiritual coach. The idea for me is to open from my heart, because that's how we can connect each other
Yes.
easier. I can connect from the brain and I can tell you all the theories or psychology, and we will connect too. But when I open my heart and I connect when I open my heart, the connection is beautiful and it's just flowy. And that's what for me is a spiritual coach. That's my mission, right? That's like, and that's how I heal. Like I heal. When did my healing start? In a meditation, when I was connecting with my heart.
I love
When
it.
did I open to my cousin? When my mind was, don't do it anymore, don't do it anymore, don't do it anymore. And there was a moment that I was like, I felt it and I'm like, I need to talk. And I start talking. So that's the reason why I love this. And I'm passionate about, right? And to respond to your question, where people can look at me, Instagram, I will send it to my Instagram page. I share my story. I share tips. That's what I like to do. My business is The Magic in Healing, just The Magic in Healing.
I really appreciate you coming back again, telling your story again. I don't think last time I was crying, but this time I think it was like there were just more things that just what was it that the guy before said? He said we react in our heart when there's emotions that we haven't fully released, and when someone will speak to you and they poke that emotion, it swells up. And unless you cry it out or speak it out, you're just going to suppress it again. And so you're absolutely, you need to speak out. It needs to be the right time. I get that. But the sooner the better, because you're just going to struggle in that space that you just really don't want to be in. So I really appreciate you. You're just absolutely wonderful, beautiful young lady. And your story, I really appreciate that you shared with me. Really, really do. And I'm crying again. So Listeners, thanks for being here. Please, again, you can contact Anna at, sorry about the bark in the background, I've got a little new puppy, and at The Magic in Healing. Again, thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit me at bleepbulimia.com.